Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy met European Union leaders on Thursday as they discussed aid to Ukraine and European defense at an extraordinary summit in Brussels. The meeting takes place against a backdrop of dramatic defense policy decisions driven by fears that Russia, emboldened by its war in Ukraine, may attack an EU country next, and that Europe cannot rely on United States to come to its aid. DD India's Dheeraj Das gets us more.
Heads of the 27 European Union nations and Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy met Thursday for a special summit in Brussels, where they discussed further support to Ukraine and the Commission's plan to rearm the continent. The extraordinary summit, convened in response to the US-Russia talks, seeks to show that the bloc is now ready to step up its efforts to support Ukraine in the short term and ensure its strategic autonomy to defend itself in the long term.
This is a watershed moment for Europe. And Ukraine, as part of our European family, it's also a watershed moment for Ukraine. Europe faces a clear and present danger. And therefore Europe has to be able to protect itself, to defend itself, as we have to put Ukraine in a position to protect itself and to push for a lasting and just peace.
Ahead of the summit, leaders said that they would stand by Ukraine and spend more on defense in a world upended by Donald Trump's reversal of US policies.
We want a peace through strength. And this is the reason why I present today to the leaders the Rearmed Europe plan. The Rearmed Europe plan provides up to 800 billion euros for defense investment. It gives the member states fiscal space to invest in defense. It gives the member states possibility to invest in the Ukrainian defense industry.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy expressed gratitude for Europe's strong support to Ukraine.
You made a strong signal to Ukrainian people, to Ukrainian warriors, to civilians, to all our families. And it's great that we are not alone. We feel it and we know it. Thank you so much for everything.
Donald Trump's return to the White House has left European leaders getting into a hurdle to rethink their security policy as fears grow that the US could scale down its military presence in Europe. As concerns rise over Trump's cordial approach to Moscow and the threat of pulling thousands of US troops out of the continent, leaders throughout Europe are bracing for a new geopolitical reality that could require them to be more self-sufficient. Despite the push for a unified approach, divisions within the European Union continue to present challenges. Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orbán has opposed the bloc's current strategy, advocating for direct peace talks with Russia. Chancellor Olaf Scholz expressed his support for continued US involvement in European nuclear deterrence.
We must ensure with a cool and intelligent head that the support of the United States is also maintained in the coming months and years, because Ukraine is also dependent on their support for its defense. This must also be the most important task in the coming days in order to guarantee the conditions for a just and fair peace.
The Rearmed Europe plan, introduced by European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, seeks to mobilize 800 billion euros for defense over 4 years. The 5-point plan seeks to provide financial and structural support for European defense efforts. Rearm means more fiscal space for national public funding for defense through the escape clause, a new instrument for loans to EU countries for defense capabilities most needed, more flexible use of EU funding towards defense investment, more private capital mobilized via the Savings and Investment Union and the European Investment Bank. With uncertainty hanging over them, European leaders are gearing up for a world where they might have to assume a larger burden of their own defense with an increasingly uncertain US administration. Dheeraj Das's report for DD India.